Hello team, so today I'm going to be doing this makeup look. Red lipstick, golden eyeshadow, a little bit, I was trying to do a wing line but we didn't do that, and a lot of eyebrows, as many eyebrows as I could possibly find on my face. And I will talk about the Aries Sun, specifically the sun sign, not Aries archetype itself, but if you were born under Aries Sun, this video is for you and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Before we begin, a little disclaimer that each chart is very unique to each individual. It takes about 40,000 years for a chart to actually repeat itself. And the cookbook style astrology, which is kind of what we're doing today, is only meant to give you a glimpse into yourself and your potential and giving you perspective to some old ideas that it's not, you know, it's not all you, or some things that will resonate, but some things might not. So please let me know in the comments what resonated to you. So the sun sign is what we're talking about today in Aries, and it indicates a journey from what personality, character, challenges you were given in life to what you have the potential of becoming. When it comes to the sun, in astrology, it's indicated by the month that you were born in. As you probably already know, Aries Sun begins around 19th of March until, which is around today when we're recording, and it goes until the 21st of April. And then the sun moves into Taurus. So the sun indicates a journey from what personality, character, challenges you were given in life to who you have the potential of becoming. And that's specific to the sun sign. We're not really talking about Aries as the archetype, the zodiac. I have that information on my podcast, which I'll link later. But this is specifically about someone who has Aries Sun. And even though there's a revolutionary process to the moon, we can talk about that more in the moon videos themselves. This is so hard. I really need a big mirror for this, but that's okay. Hope you guys enjoy looking at the little mirror that I'm using. The Aries Sun kids, when they're growing up, they're the ones that are usually known to be a little bit more ADHD. And I'm not diagnosing anyone here, but they're the hyperactive kids. They're the ones that are very curious. This is something that everybody really talks about and knows about Aries Suns. But what's really interesting is when they grow up into adulthood, that same energy is directed and becomes a little bit more OCD. And I'll explain why that happens and why that looks like this. And it's something that no one really mentions about Aries Suns, but if you know them, you have them in your life, or if you're one, you understand that there's a lot of expectation on yourself as a child and as an adult. And these kids are a little bit more sensitive, and also when they grow up into adulthood, Aries in general, a little bit more sensitive than others to failure. So they really want there to be around their workspace or maybe home to be certain level of perfection. And sometimes this pressure that they put on themselves manifests through external parental pressure, but oftentimes it's just something that's in their DNA, something they're born with. So with Aries really needing to be the best at something, it really comes from the feeling of wanting to be first, wanting to be the first to explore new lands, new territories. That's why there's that word pioneering in them that comes through. And Aries is the beginning. It's the spring in Northern Hemisphere. It's the start of things. It's pure life force itself. So it's energy that you, as an Aries Sun, are responsible for learning how to direct. And it can be very beautiful, but it's also innate and primal, and it's biological with Aries themselves. And they don't trust anyone else to lead themselves. It doesn't mean they don't trust anyone else to lead the tribe or other people, a country, but they don't really trust anyone else's opinion because they know what's best for them, or there's something they really want to try and there's something that they've really thought about doing first before anyone else has done. They are the trailblazers. They're the ones that create a path rather than walking a path that's already been walked. And that's where the hyper independence comes from with Aries. It's this feeling of this intuition, this innate, like I said, primal force energy that says you need to try out this other dark path that's no one walked before. And it's dark not because it's scary, but because there's no lights. No one's put up lights there. And that is just part of being who you are. I'm trying to do like a very Aryan thick eyebrow here, but my eyebrows, Aries are infamous for their aggression or their temper, and it's not baseless. It usually comes through when they feel like their survival is at risk, and whatever that means for them. You know, logically to you, you might not necessarily agree with the fact that whatever that situation that has come up to an Aries, or maybe not you, but somebody who's not an Aries, is putting their survival at risk. But for them, it feels like that. For them, it feels as if they need to protect themselves, they need to set a boundary, and it comes through a very aggressive energy. And it's something that they need to learn how to hone, and they need to learn how to direct. And it's not bad energy at all. It's just, it's all about practice. And there's a really good reason why you want to do something first, you want to pioneer, and it's because you were meant to steal the fire from the gods and give it to the rest of the people and get the glory and the respect of the tribe, but then move on to the next adventure. Because Aries is not necessarily that, and again, I'm saying every chart is unique, and I'm not saying that they're not a leader, but for them, leading just means tracking a new path for the people that follow, while, you know, all fire signs are natural leaders, actually. But for someone like Leo, for instance, they're the ones that want to stay in the castle, and they're the ones that want to guide the community and rule the nation, while Aries moves on to the next journey, the next adventure. Most of the time, they like to adventure solo. And that's why Aries are natural entrepreneurs. They are, you know, with entrepreneurships, if you're an Aries Sun and you really want to start a business, but then you have so many different ideas and you don't know which one to start, it's actually quite a blessing, because what you need, and I'm not giving you business advice per se, but you know, if you were to start a business as an Aries Sun, it's really good to have an exit strategy so that you can sell that business and then start a new one. They're not usually, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but they're not usually the types that, you know, want to start a business in terms of like a cafe or restaurant and stay there permanently. That could really suffocate an Aries being in one place for too long without any sort of travel or adventure, or having, you know, gaining a new perspective from having new experiences. When it comes to career, Aries is, you know, like I've said, you have to look at the whole chart to indicate a career. I can't give you career advice. And the best way to look at what, you know, you potentially might want to do in your life and the career that you want to build is to look at the house placements as well as the signs and the planets. But the house placements will really tell you a lot about your chart and in terms of what you can do. And saying that, you know, it's the style of work that Aries has or prefers is to have a lot of freedom. It's to be able to come in and out of the office. It's potentially making important decisions for the company, but it only matters to them if it affects their work. So if they're, of course, if they're running the business, or if they have a company, and I'm not saying just business, like I don't want to just orient on entrepreneurs. Of course, a lot of Aries are artists as well, and they work happily independently that way too. But what they don't love doing is micromanaging work that has no effect on them, because they feel like they're wasting their time. So when it comes to relationships for Aries, it's a zodiac sign that opposes Libra in the astrological wheel, and because of that opposition, it's going to a different direction from where Libra is going, and Libra goes towards relating with other people. It goes towards diplomacy. It goes towards building connections, while Aries goes towards independence. So building relationships can be sometimes a struggle for a lot of Arian types. And the reason is they're so focused on personal goals, and they often forget to stop and think about the person that they're either in a relationship with or even their business partner. So it's really important, if you're an Aries sun, to remind yourself to take into account the other, as well as it is your evolutionary aim to be an independent person. But it is also part of it is to build relationships and to learn how to build relationships with other people, even though it can be a challenge for you to take into account or to understand another person's feelings or needs and wants. And and we understand that you're not necessarily doing that on purpose, but it is about learning, and it is about growth, and it is about learning through the other more about yourself. And that's what relationships are all about. So relational evolutionary aim for Aries, and the challenge is how to build a loving, caring relationship that is mutual, has mutual care, but still remain themselves and remain independent while you are at that. And I have some examples of Sun and Aries that are my personal favorites, and that's Aretha Franklin. Quentin Tarantino is a great example of the kind of films that he does. There's a lot of very Aryan aggression and violence. I was saying something about Quentin Tarantino before the camera turned off, but basically all I was saying is a very cool Aries example. And then we have Ram Dass. I know they're really random, but check them out. It will fit anybody's taste, this list, and you can look into their life, get a little bit inspired. Oh, if you're an Aries. I really should have curled my lashes, but you know what? Yeah, Ram Dass, if you don't know who Ram Dass is, his story is beautiful. I'm pretty sure I've talked about Ram Dass on the podcast on Aries with Noah Frere, who's my friend who's an astrologer and an astronomer. Very unique combination, but he happens to be both. Let me just outline my lips and then I'll continue. Actually, you know what? I think I can talk like this. We can be fine. Yeah, we'll fine. We can do this. John Sebastian Bach was also an Aries. And who else do we got here? Otto von Bismarck. Great Aries example. When it comes to pioneering, trailblazing, and even leading in certain ways. Red lipstick is such a pain. Last ones I have Maya Angelou. One of my favorite authors ever. in history. She is incredible. The way she writes stories in a poetic form as well, because she is a poetess. And then we got Viktor Franklin, who was the man that wrote Man's Search for Meaning. He wrote that in a Nazi German camp. And apparently, and the secret to his survival, he says, was that he had the goal of finishing his book, Man's Search for Meaning, and to see his family. So he said you have to live for something, and you have to live for someone to feel you have purpose in life. And then, of course, we have Joseph Campbell, who authored, apologize if my lipstick doesn't look even on camera. I did my best, and I have to deal with it, so do you. Joseph Campbell authored The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and of course, he's the one that brought to us the hero's journey and a lot of work with mythology and archetypes. And the hero's journey is the representation of Aries in such a strong way. It's such a great example of it. So, in conclusion, if you're an Aries Sun, it's time for you to do some trailblazing, pioneering, create something that's new and exciting and unique for yourself. And with that said, thank you so much. I do have to say, doing makeup and talking astrology was a lot harder than I thought it would be, but I think we did okay.